So I mentioned in a recent video on the live chat, actually last week, uh, the geese are kind of going nuts here. Uh, I mentioned that I was considering getting a van instead of an RV or a bus or some other options. And I also promised I would cover that in an upcoming video. So here we go. So hey, if we're just meeting, my name's Robert. This channel has been a little bit inactive the last year, getting it going again now. I'm a full-time traveler, a nomad, wandering minimalist, I sometimes call myself. I've been doing this for a long time, and this channel is mostly about my experiences. I share some of the things I've learned along the way, and I share a lot of scenery and natural views that I run into during my travels. So today we're talking about why I'm thinking about getting into a van rather than an RV or a schoolie or something like that as I upgrade from my little Toyota Echo. Deborah and I have been traveling together the past year plus, and so it wasn't an issue. We had the van and that we tried to share, and that was just a little bit too cozy, so we're doing something a little bigger here. And at the same time, I need to get a little bigger than the car. Okay, so a couple of the options I've been asked about include RVs and school buses. And there's some specific reasons I'm thinking van might be better for me right now. And of course, I do want to note that RVs and school buses and every other option has advantages. In fact, I did a whole series a while ago on which is the best vehicle for full timing. And that was one of the things I concluded across all the different types of vehicles I surveyed, was that each vehicle has advantages and disadvantages, or benefits and complications, however you want to describe that. As that's the situation with here as well. Right now, driving around a little Toyota Echo, we bought it as a tow behind vehicle and to be a daily driver. It works great for that. I thought I'd be able to improvise it, and make it kind of a micro camper like people do with a Prius, but this thing's just a little bit too small for that. From the seat to the end of the trunk, even if I took the back seats out, it's like 5.5 feet, so it's really pretty small. So I just need to find something a little bit larger to be able to camp out of. And especially now that, like, for the summer, Deborah and I traveling separately. She's over in, from Nevada heading up towards, I'm not sure where actually. I think she's still trying to make it up as she goes. I'm up here in Wyoming, and going to be out in the mountains, and I just need to have a better space set up. So here's the reason I'm considering a van instead of like an RV or a bus or something. All right, vans are easier to find in decent shape. That doesn't mean they're as easy to find as they used to be. The popularity of the van life movement has definitely put a crimp on cheap vans that are in good condition, but it's still easier to find a van than it is to find a RV or a bus at a similar price point that's in good condition. So just finding an RV that's decent, that's relatively inexpensive, is going to fit the budget I have to work with, that doesn't have a leaky roof, or that doesn't need major mechanical repairs, or it doesn't need to be completely renovated, is a real challenge. And the same is going to be true for a bus. You're going to be buying for the price point I'm looking at. You're probably going to be buying a bus that's still got seats in it, so I had to go through and remove all the seats, get rid of them, and start building from scratch. And flip side of that on the RV is that I'm going to have to gut out a lot of stuff that may have been water damaged or may just be outdated, and upgrade it to more functional things in the price point I'm looking at. Because I'm not going to be able to drop 20 or 30 grand, for example, on an RV. So I'm going to be buying something older. Okay, another thing on the van, and this is more as opposed to a bus. Buses, and this varies by state. So if you're thinking about getting a bus, you really got to do your homework on the state or states you plan on registering it in, because the rules vary by state for what you got to do to get it titled as a private vehicle versus a commercial vehicle, bus, and also to get it titled as an RV if you want to go that route. That's less of an issue with a van. RVs, of course, you can just get their titles as RVs. That's convenient, but that is something to think about if you're looking at any kind of commercial vehicle. Is make sure you check the rules in your state, because if you have to title it commercial, it's the registration and is going to be more expensive, and very likely your insurance is going to be more expensive. So make sure you consider that. With a standard van, you don't have to worry about that. Although some states do try and force 1-ton vans into commercial status for licensing as well. So look into that. But generally speaking, it's fairly straightforward to get a van registered. All right, another deal, and this is yeah, I just don't want to spend the entire summer and a whole bunch of money trying to renovate an RV to bring it up to snuff. You know, so let's say, for example, you look at an old RV, the wiring, the plumbing, everything's 30 or 40 years old. You got to replace all that stuff, or at least upgrade it to make it safe and to make it work the way you need it to work. And if you do a lot of off-grid camping like I do, that's an even bigger issue, because now you got to figure out how to take this thing that was set up to be plugged into a campground, and maybe as one batteries you can run the furnace for an hour when you're off grid, or you can run a couple lights when you're off grid, and you got to figure out how to change that system and upgrade it so that it runs primarily on battery with like solar coming in or whatever you're getting for power, and then you can maybe recharge at a campground when you are on shore power. So again, it's a huge project, and I just don't want to get into having to retrofit that. It's literally easier to start with an empty cargo van or potentially an empty schoolie if you go that route, and just build it out the way you want it, than it is to tear apart an older RV, figure out how things work, figure out how to remove certain parts of that system, how to make it upgraded so that it meets your needs off-grid and everything's safe and functioning reasonably. And yet another reason I'm thinking of going with a van is just because of access. With a standard size van, you can get a lot of places that you're not going to get with bigger rigs, and this is true, in some national parks or state parks. Some of these things have road restrictions on, or campsite restrictions on larger RVs or truck trailer combinations, and so you don't have to worry about that with a standard size van. You can just get where you want to go, and that's kind of nice. Another thing related to access is like downtown areas. I like to do a lot of rural stuff, as you probably know, but my gosh, sometimes you have to go into the city. We went into San Antonio, for example, on the way through Texas this spring, and we left the van at a hotel outside of town and took the Toyota Echo in because downtown was pretty tight, and the limited parking was in garages or in these little tiny small lots. It would have been difficult to find a place to park even a van, let alone you just no way you would have parked an RV down there. Some of the hotels in downtown don't even have parking lots. So they have to send people over to. They have valet to park your car at a public parking lot nearby for the day. So that's just something to think about too. Is that the smaller vehicles have easier access, and of course, if you're in a Prius or something, you have even easier access yet. Okay, then another issue with access that I'm running into a lot with a little car is ground clearance. Whereas a full-size van has pretty good ground clearance usually, and you can get it's not. You're not going to go places you might go with a lifted up four-wheel drive with mud tires on it, but you can get into a lot of places where these low vehicles like the car, and this is an issue with an RVs because of the departure angle, especially on the back, and just the overall clearance and pipes coming down and things, is that a lot of times you can't get into places I want to go. So a van gives me a little more flexibility there. Now, I've had a minivan in the past. I think that worked well in a lot of ways, but this time I'm actually not thinking about the minivan still. I'm looking at going a little bigger. And the reason is if you're just using it as a bedroom and occasionally hanging out, a minivan is great. It gives you good stealth, better gas mileage, easy to drive, easier to deal with in the city and stuff, all these things. But I'm trying to be able to have a permanent bed. So I really don't want to deal with having to break that down and make it up every day. So a permanent bed, a place to cook inside, and I like to cook outside, but sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate, or you're in a city in a place where there isn't anywhere to camp outside. And I always have people tell me, oh, just go to a city park. Well, not all city parks actually allow outdoor cooking, and not all city parks have picnic tables. So that's not always an option when you're in the city. So Bed, cooking, enough room to store. I'm a minimalist, but you still have to carry some things, including tools and clothes and cookware and that sort of stuff, and work supplies. And I want to be able to work. I want a desk space to be able to work at. And I'd never had that in a minivan. Could never figure out how to do that reasonably between the low roof height and the width and So what I ended up doing was working in the passenger seat, which I eventually turned around, and it's okay. But when you're doing it all day, it's not the best ergonomics. And so I really want a comfortable desk space where I can have the computer set up, maybe an external monitor, external hard drive I'm using, some of these things, and just be able to work. And that's a big deal. And if I'm parked somewhere for a week at a time, I can leave that stuff out for a week, and that's a big deal. It'll improve my efficiency and my productivity, and that's important to me. So that's something I gain from going with a full-size van versus a minivan. Again, schoolies, I'd love to do a schoolie someday, but the maintenance on those things is problematic. They're difficult to get work done a lot of times. Some less of a problem than others, but some are difficult to get worked on, and they're expensive to get work done, because if you can find somebody to work on it, you're probably going to be paying truck shop rates. You're probably not going to be paying like auto rates. So they tend to be more expensive, and the parts are more expensive. So that being said, they're typically well maintained, they're well built, and so they may last you a long time. But it kind of scares me off a little bit, the potential problem getting it worked on, and the potential cost of getting it worked on. $400 or $500 for a tire, for example, just kind of scares me off a little bit. And then RVs, like I said, I'd probably end up gutting the thing anyways, anything I could afford to buy. And if I got to gut it to start with, I might as well just start with a van, right? But yeah, gut it, and it's just, again, the maintenance on RVs, they can be money pits. Especially if you don't have the money to buy something newer. You're buying something old, and everything in them, it can be expensive to keep them going, both mechanically and the house part. And so I just don't want to get into that. So basically, I'm looking, I can move in, set up, get to work, be functional right away. I don't want to have to completely remodel anything right now. And if I have to build something out, I at least would start with the bare shell, because I can make it more functional as I go. I don't have to go through the whole gutting and making a trip to the landfill process to get rid of stuff. So I think all around, a van is just going to be the best solution for me right now. May do an RV or a schoolie in the future. For right now, I think a van is the best all-around bet. I am hoping to find a high top. That makes a big difference. I'm hoping to do that. But other than that, I think that's going to be my best solution for right now. Now, am I saying everybody should do a van and not do a schoolie or a RV or a travel trailer or whatever else? Not at all. Just that for me, right now, at this point in my life, I think this is the best option in all probability. Unless something else comes together and seems like it's going to work for me. In all probability, I'm leaning towards a van right now. So, because every vehicle has trade-offs. They all have advantages, they all have disadvantages. It's always trade-offs. And I just think for right now, for me, a full-size van is probably going to be the best way to go. I'd consider a minivan if it was one of the bigger models, especially if it had a slightly higher roof than what I had before. But, we'll see what we can find, and that's what I'm thinking. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on the process as this goes along. Hoping to find something while the month's over and get moving with that. Staying at my son's house here in Wyoming right now, and I'd like to give them their space back. And I want to be able to get out and travel some. When I'm in Wyoming, I want to get up to the mountains. I'm going stir crazy being in the city here. This is the park right here is about as close as I get to nature here in Gillette. So I come down here and get and at least try and see some greenery and water and trees and waterfowl and what have you. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully it was helpful at least in terms of articulating why I'm thinking what I am right now in terms of vehicle options, and I hope that helps you if you're thinking about what the heck should I buy for a vehicle. There's no right answer for everybody. There's no right answer all the time for everybody. This is just what I think is going to work best for me right now at this point in my life. And I was thinking real hard about a RV, smallish RV, or a small bus for a while. And I just got looking at the costs of everything that was available and the amount of work that would be involved. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do all that right now. So maybe at a different time in my life, but not right now. So thanks for joining this video, everybody, and we will see you in the next one.